welcome back to my channel. I'm your hostess, Lady C, and basically I come on here and I talk about relationships and TV shows and music. So if you like that sort of thing, please like, comment, and subscribe to me for more content like that. So today we're going to talk about my all-time favorite show that I watched growing up, Gilmore Girls. I loved Gilmore Girls. Like, I used to get made fun of so much for liking Gilmore Girls. I was called whitewashed, a valley girl, all kinds of things, but I did not care because I freaking loved Lorelai and Rory Gilmore. So let's get into it. So the first relationship I would love to chat about, let's talk about all of Rory's relationships. So Rory and Lorelai is a mom. So Lorelai's a teenage mother. Well, she was a teenage mother. Now we're like fast forward into the future where the kid is a teenager. Rory's a teenager and Lorelai is like in her 40s, I guess, or whatever. Anyways, so she escaped her strict parents' household. We can all relate to that sometimes. And ran off with her little baby to a town called Stars Hollow. And yeah, she basically raised her baby there. And the pilot starts off with basically reintroducing the grandparents into her life because she needs money to take Rory to Chilton, basically, so Rory can get into Harvard, even though she ends up in Yale. So let's talk about Rory and Lorelai. They have the sickest mother and daughter relationship that any mother would want. Now that I have a 6-year-old, I have that same relationship with my daughter, and I'm so happy. And actually, I kind of have a good relationship with my mom too. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, growing up, I felt like my parents were a little bit on the authoritarian side, and Lorelai seems like a super lenient parent. But going into the show, as the show progresses, you see, yes, she's lenient, but she's actually super overprotective. Like, so, anyway, so Rory and Lorelai, sickest mom and daughter relationship. They're very close. They literally had like 1 or 2 fights, and of course, it was over Dean. One was over a boy, one was over school. She dropped out of Yale because she's crazy. I could have never dropped out of college. I wish I had the luxury to do that, but no. Flush my mom's money down the toilet? I don't think so. So yeah, really cool relationship. Love their relationship. They both have these freakishly bright blue eyes, which is like really pretty. They were cast really well, I think. And yeah, who doesn't dream of having a mother-daughter relationship like that? Like, so yeah, I watched this show since I was 14. I'm 34 now. Oh my god, I've been watching it for 10 years. So um let me talk about my favorite couple. Please give a standing ovation for Rory and Jess. Okay, actually, should I go in order of the boyfriends that she dated? Okay, let's go in order. So first was Dean, Rory and Dean. Okay, Dean was this tall, lanky motherfucker, and he was like into sports and basketball, and Rory's more into books and a bookworm and stuff. But so she was in public school, about to go to private school, but then Dean spotted her. And he came from Chicago, and now he lives in Connecticut now. That's where Stars Hollow is. And he fell in love with Rory. It was like love at first sight, and he like pursued her, and she was only 15, like turning 16, so she didn't really know what love was, you know? But she, she allowed him to court her, and he built her a car, a sick little pretty little blue car, and all this cool stuff. And he was a really good boyfriend, except for the fact that he was clingy as fuck. I hate clingy men. Like, ugh, it's such a damn turnoff. Like, just be confident, and you'll get way more girls, I promise. But yeah, Dean and her, the height difference was odd. Even though she was tall, he was like super tall, and he was clingy and stuff like that. I mean, with good reason. He was like so in love with her, and he didn't want her to be with anyone else and stuff. But so now that rolls into the next relationship Rory had, was with Jess. Team Jess. I am team Jess all the way. Rory and Jess, even though he's a shitty boyfriend, I love their chemistry, like to the point where the actors even dated in real life. So that's kind of funny. But I just love their chemistry. They're both really smart, book smart. He was so good for her mental. And I think this is the boy that this was her first love. Rory was Dean's first love, but Jess is Rory's first love, in my opinion. I think she never knew what love was and stuff like that. But when she got with Jess, like, it was a real connection. They were book buddies. They could discuss literature, stuff that she couldn't really discuss with Dean. But unfortunately, Jess was the bad boy. You know, he would say, I'm going to come pick you up at 8 and then totally ditch her. So that wasn't cool. But I think they had more of a spark than Dean and Rory did. I just thought it was funny how when Dean and Rory, they slept out overnight, they didn't have sex, but they fell asleep, and she woke up freaking the hell out. She freaked out. She woke up and she ran home. She's like, I gotta get home. My mom's gonna kill me. And this is where Lorelai's overprotection comes in, because she dead ass does not want Rory to be a teenage mom the way she was. But it's like, geez, Lorelai, calm down. Like, she's not gonna turn into that. Like, you're raising her differently, so she's not going to turn into you. Like, just relax. But anyway, and with Jess, yeah, the chemistry was there, but the way he went about the whole relationship was totally wrong. He went and got another girl to make Rory jealous, and then it worked, and then he didn't take Rory out on any dates like he promised her he would, and then he would ditch her. um what else didn't I like about Jess? Oh, he finally got Rory, and then he started being jealous of Dean. And it's like, why? You won. You won. You got Rory, so why are you jealous of Dean still? Or why are you, you know what I mean? Like, intimidated by him. Like, you won. You got the girl. So, and then later on, after her and Jess broke up, she went back to Dean and lost her virginity, which it was romantic, but it was bad because Dean got married. He moved on to a blonde named Lindsay. I don't like Lindsay. But yeah, so that was really bad. Like, Lorelai made her feel like shit for that. Like, she didn't mean to, but she's like, bitch, I didn't raise you to friggin' have sex with a married man. And he's like, but he's my Dean. And it's like, no, bitch, he's not your Dean. You broke up with him. You literally smashed his heart into a million pieces for that piece of shit Jess, who couldn't give two F's about you. I think at the end of the day, Jess just wanted to prove to Dean that he could steal his girl. And he did. He didn't really love Rory, but Rory loved him. And that's so heartbreaking, because that happens to us girls a lot. It's like, we really love someone, and it's like, wow, they were just playing you. They're just playing us. So let's move on to the next couple. Rory and Logan. That was her last stop. That was her worst boyfriend, in my opinion, because he was an asshole, because his father was an asshole. Mitch Huntsberger, and Logan Huntsberger. What is such a weird last name? I've never heard that last name in my life. But just watching you know just watching Gossip Girls and seeing how the Upper East Side people are, that's the world that Logan came from. I was gonna say his real name. That's the world he came from. Like, he didn't have to work to get like a scholarship to get into Yale. It's like his parents were connected, and even though Rory's connected through her grandparents and stuff like that, she's still not rich. You know what I mean? Like, that's her grandparents are rich. So of course, naturally, Logan's parents didn't think she was good enough for him. That was one. Two, I hated when his dad made her like feel like she couldn't be a writer anymore. That was her whole goal. Her whole life was to be a writer. And then she finally got like a position at his dad's newspaper. And then he totally just crushed her dreams to the point where she dropped out of college. Like, ugh. And then, but this is the kicker. Here's the kicker. It's like, she fell in love with Logan, and he wouldn't return any of her calls. He ignored her. He was a piece of shit until the point where at the Founders Day parade or whatever, that Stars Hollow, they have like a, I don't know, Founders Day, and they have this thing called Founders Day punch. So she never drank the punch in her life until now. And then she drank the punch and she got so drunk. And then she was like drunk crying. Like, we've all been there, drunk crying over our ex-boyfriends. And she's laying down in Lorelai's lap, drunk crying. And then she was just a whole mess. Like, I hate Logan for making a whole mess of her life like that. And then, to like add insult to injury, in A Year in a Life, which is the sequel to Gilmore Girls, A Year in a Life, it's like, okay, Logan had proposed to her in season 7 and she said no. And then it's like she just repeated the same mistakes with Dean. She went back and pursued Logan, or they were like having sex. They were like fuck buddies or whatever. And it's like Logan was married or he had another person. It's like I hate how they wrote Rory's character to be like some homewrecker. Like totally sucks because I looked up to her as a teenager. Like she was smart and kind and sweet, and then they just turned her into a homewrecker. Like stupid. One more relationship I want to discuss was Rory and Paris's relationship. So friggin' awesome. Such an awesome friendship. So funny. Like nobody likes Paris, but of course Rory is such a considerate, kind person, and she spoke to Paris. And when Paris lost her virginity and didn't get into Harvard, Rory was there for her. So I love that about the relationship. And then like Paris went to go get like a counselor, or what do you call it, like a aid, some sort of like a behavioral aid, and he told her, oh, your relationship with Rory isn't done yet. So they made some calls, and they made it that Rory and Paris both went to Yale and they both bunked together as roommates. So I guess that was the writer's way of keeping Paris in the show. Awesome, because I love Paris. She's crazy. So yeah, that was all of Rory's relationships. So let's go on to Lorelai's relationships now. Lorelai, first of all, Lauren Graham is like one of my favorite actresses. I'm so happy she went on to do Parenthood, which I will do another video on Parenthood when I'm finished binge watching that series. I just love her porcelain skin and her blue eyes, and she's friggin' awesome, and she can talk so fast and she's so witty. But yeah, she's basically the same character in Parenthood too, so when we get to that show. Anyway, let's talk about Lorelai and Christopher. Okay, I freaking love Christopher. Everybody loves Christopher. He's so gorgeous and so charming, but he's like a wreck, you know. Their relationship was super tumultuous. You know, there was always that spark there. They always had that spark, but unfortunately Christopher is irresponsible. It was such a turn off when he went to the bookstore and he was gonna buy Rory that big ass dictionary, and then he couldn't afford it, or like he swiped his card and it, oh my god, how embarrassing. There's no friggin' way I'm gonna take my kid to a store and then my card doesn't work. Like that's like, grow up. Like you're so immature. Like who does that? Like why don't you make sure you have money in your card before you go and promise your kid something? Like, I mean, I know mistakes happen and shit and stuff like that, but it's like, wow, like that really turned me off from Christopher. But I liked how in the end, like the 7th season, they tried one more time to get together, and they did they get married? I don't think so. I think they were close, but they just tried one more time, and so that was admirable, you know, because we always want our kid to have the mom and the dad, but sometimes family is just you and your kid, or you and your kid and the grandparents, like my situation. So there's different definitions of family, and that's a good example of that. So moving on, let's go semi in order. So there's Lorelai and Max Medina. So Max Medina, he's like this dark-haired English teacher, and he was Rory's teacher, and she was dating Rory's teacher, and he fell in love with Lorelai, and he proposed to her with 1,000 yellow daisies, sent it to her job, which was at the inn, Lorelai's job. That was so romantic, like just looking around like, wow, all these daisies. But it's like, wow, we all knew in our head that Lorelai was not as into Max as Max was into her, and she low-key knew it was wrong, because it's like, you're my daughter's teacher, so that's kind of wrong. But yeah, uh it really sucked for Max, because like he spent all this money, and they were supposed to be engaged, and they had this wonderful engagement party out in the square, and everybody was invited, and it was so beautiful. But Lorelai said no, and Suki made an amazing cake. That's Melissa McCartney's character. I love how Melissa McCartney, out of all of those characters, went on to be a movie star. Like she's the one who like broke out, and she's like a movie star. So made this beautiful cake, and she's like, well, toss that in the garbage. Like this bitch changed her mind again. So yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking for Max Medina, but I was happy that she didn't get with Max, because we all know Lorelai and Luke belong together. So let's move on to Luke. So Luke is the old scruffy, angry coffee shop owner who low-key was in love with Lorelai, and she was low-key not in love with him. She she loved him as friends, but not really was quite in love with him yet. But they just have the most amazing banter and amazing connection. And he loves her and he loves Rory. And I think the way to a woman's heart is through her child. So he went to all of Rory's recitals, games as a kid and stuff. Was there for her birthday, drove her back and forth to college like a real dad. Like he was her real stepdad, you know. But so in the end, she did end up with Luke. Thank God. After all these years of pining after her, she finally let her hair down. It was so cute. It was so cute how he went to get a book on romance and communication, and he really studied, and then he finally got the courage to ask her out. So friggin' cute. Men need to take note from Luke. Like, work on yourself, work on your confidence, then go for the girl. You know? I think you can take a lot of lessons from Luke Danes there. And actually, I wanted to talk about one more relationship with Lorelai, which was Jason Digger Styles. I love Digger. Okay, so growing up, I watched Digger in Malcolm in the Middle, and he was the Krellboyne teacher. Krellboyne basically was like super nerdy geniuses, basically, in Malcolm in the Middle. So yeah, so I knew him from that show, and then like when I was 14 and watching it, I didn't like him. I didn't like Digger. He was pasty. He was just snooty a little bit. But then as I grew older, and I'm older now, I'm like, I love him. I love Jason. He's so good for Lorelai. Like they had a good like little relationship, but I knew it was wrong. It was a wrong relationship. Why? Because she didn't open up to him with her parents. She doesn't open up to anyone with her parents, but yeah. So in the end, Jason and her father, Lorelai's father, went into business together, but then Lorelai's father turned her back on Jason. Okay, so Jason's dad and Lorelai's dad worked together at a firm. The firm pushed out Richard, which was Lorelai's dad. Rest in peace, Richard. He passed away in real life. So the company pushed him out, and then so he went to go work with Jason, and then I don't know, Jason's dad caught wind of that, and he was like, yo, come back to the company and let's kick Jason out. So Jason was like, what the hell? And he sued her father, and Lorelai essentially was like, I can't date someone who's gonna sue my father, like even if it was under the right pretenses. So that was the end of that relationship. But anyway, thank you, Lord Jesus, that she got with Luke, her rightful man. So, but yeah, and then like the last relationship I'll talk about was Lorelai and her parents. Such a crazy relationship. Her mom is so anal. Like picks up a glass like, there's fingerprints! There's fingerprints on this glass! Who put it there? Like she's so anal. But I mean, that's Emily's job. Like she's a stay-at-home mother, not trophy wife, but she's like she's the wife that, you know, goes to functions and parties, and she's a socialite. And as vapid as that sounds, is actually very important, because that means you stay well connected. How do you think people have connections? They go to parties and stuff, right? So that was her mom's job, and her dad was just always working, working, working. But I like that she was a daddy's girl, you know, so that was nice. At least she had one parent who was kind of like on her side or whatever. Like when her mom put her on a blind date, and then she went to go sneak out of the window, and her dad caught her, and she's like, Daddy, please don't tell my mom, but that guy's boring. Let me escape. And he let her escape. That was so funny. That was cute. So yeah, even though she has a crazy relationship with her parents, essentially they really love her. And you can see that they really loved Rory, especially when Rory dropped out of college. They took Rory under their wing, and you know, they're good grandparents. They remind me of my parents and how so good they are to my daughter. So I really like that. But yeah, that's everything. This was kind of a short video, short-ish. That was all the relationships in the bizarre world of Stars Hollow of Gilmore Girls. If you haven't seen that, what are you doing? You need to go watch that show right now. Such a good show. So homey and heartfelt, and that will forever be my childhood memories TV show. I've watched every single episode. I have every single DVD case back when DVDs were a thing. I have the whole collection, seasons 1 to 7. That's how obsessed and addicted I was to Gilmore Girls. So yeah, that's everything about Stars Hollow. Please like and subscribe for more content like this if you love relationships, music, movies, and all the drama that comes with it. Stay tuned because I have so much more coming to you. Bye.